When I started fishing micro European nymphing leaders about 4 or 5 years ago, one of the things that I thought about a lot was how should I connect this leader to my fly line. If you've seen my super glue fly line splice 2.0 especially, you'll see how I connect thicker leaders to most of my fly lines. But when you start working with micro leaders, they just don't have enough surface area to adhese with the super glue. So I needed a different way to connect it, and I went back to one of the ways that I did it when I was first fly fishing as a youth, and that was with creating my own loop on the end of a fly line. But a regular loop-to-loop connection that you might find on the end of a commercially available fly line, it's really thick and it doesn't go through your guides well. So I wanted to create a loop that would slide through my guides just like a super glue splice, but be a lot more durable and useful for a micro leader. So I set about finding a way to do this. I used lots of different methods to get the loop, and a lot of them were still a little bit clunky, didn't go through the guides well. But I figured out that if I could strip the coating off the loop and fold it back on itself, put the thread down on it so it was just barely onto where the coating was left, I could get the tiniest little loop that was great for a micro leader. And then when I was in Tasmania this last, well, it would have been 2019 for the World Championships. For the week after the championship, I got the opportunity to fish with Gregoire from the French team and Howard Crossan from the English team and several of the Aussie anglers, and we were talking about how we were all connecting our leaders to our fly lines one night, and guess what? Most of the rest of the guys were doing a very similar thing. So it's a proven method, and it works really well, and I feel like this specific method of doing it will get you a loop that's tiny, but also goes through your guides really easily, and the method itself is easy to do in just a couple minutes, as long as you have a fly tying vise and a thick hook. If you watch the video, hopefully you'll be able to master the technique pretty quickly and make micro loops on any of your European nymphing leaders. I would still go with the super glue splice if you're fishing a thick leader, but if you're going down towards fishing thinner and thinner materials, especially if you're anything under about 8-pound test maxima or some similar diameter, then this method should work really well for you.
All right, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make this little micro loop, and it's also not really a connection that you'd probably want to use for a standard leader because it's going to open up your fly line to getting water inside. But when we're Euro nymphing, we're not really having our line on the water, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so first I'm just going to cut that off, and what I have here is some 2x diameter tippet. This happens to be indicator mono, so you can see it. And I've just looped it. So I have a loop here, and I've probably got maybe a foot total of this, so that the loop is about 6 inches long. And here's the tag ends over here. And I'm going to wrap this around the fly line, okay? So I'm grabbing my tag ends here, and I'm putting them through this loop, and I'm pulling tight. And now you can see I've got the loop around the fly line, and I'm going to bite into it here, so pull hard, and then I just pull on it and it strips the coating off the fly line. So I have exposed braid core underneath. All right, the next thing, I put a hook backward in the vise here. Now the hook needs to be a really heavy diameter gauge, so this is a Hanek 900. A streamer hook and a size 6. It doesn't really matter what hook as long as it's barbless, because you need to be able to slide it off, and then it has to have a thick gauge wire. So then I take this and wrap it around the back of the hook, and I'm pinching in between my thumb and my index finger there. I'm also going to take some thread here, fly tying thread. This is A-dot uni thread. Doesn't really matter what you use here, but you do want it to be pretty thin. And I'm pinching and holding, and then just wrapping over itself and coming to the rear until I get over a little bit of where I still have coating on the fly line. Then I'm going to come in here and trim out both the thread and the braid So that's cut off. And now I'll just make a few more wraps to cover up the waist end of that braid. And cover any exposed material there. Okay. I don't want to make this bulky because the whole point is to have this still slide through your guides nice and easy. So less is more here. All right, now I have the same loop of tippet that I used to strip the coating of the fly line, and I'm going to come in here and pinch that on top of the fly line and make about 4 wraps over it. And I'm going to use this to actually whip finish this thread. Okay, so I hold this and I cut the thread down here below the frame, and I'm putting this thread up through that loop. And then I'm going to switch hands here, hold tight over that thread, and then pull that loop out the other side. And now I've whip finished that thread, and there's a knot there and it's not going to come off. So then I just come and trim off that thread, and I'll use a little bit of super glue. To make sure that holds together. And then I can just take that hook out of the vise, and I have a micro loop that is going to go through your guides like there's nothing there. And you can just directly knot your micro leader to that loop, and you can use it time over time until that falls apart, and usually your line is going to do it fall apart behind it before the micro loop does. So try that out. It's a slick way to connect your micro leader to your Euro nymphing line, and it's what I've been using ever since I started messing around with micro leaders probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Thanks for watching this tactical fly fisher tutorial. I hope this micro loop helped you out. And when you get down to fishing that micro leader, now you have a strong way to connect it to your fly line. If you like this video, please give us that thumbs up. It really helps the channel, helps people see the videos, and helps it to grow. And please subscribe to the channel as well, and hit that little bell icon so that you get a notification on your phone whenever we post a new video. And last of all, if you have some dollars to spare, please show us your support by coming on over to our site at tacticalflyfisher.com, and we'll be happy to help you out with your gear and fly tying needs. One of the things that plagued me early on was how I needed to... I can't talk on the camera, so I'm going to...